What is going on with OG Fortnite? Leak has just announced we are going back to Chapter 1 OG Fortnite again, and it's starting next month. But what does this mean for Chapter 6, and do I think this could potentially kill Fortnite? I also want to talk about what's going on with the Trio Cash Cups. We have Clix with a brand new trio, Mr. Savage with a brand new trio, and Veno has now worked his way back onto potentially the best trio on EU. I also want to talk about how the meta is looking and what is going on with the Grotto update that could turn on at any point. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Before we get into talking about the Trio Cash Cup and the leaderboards, let's talk about what's going on with OG Fortnite. And I don't mean Chapter 2 OG Remix, which we're currently playing. I'm talking about the leaks that are saying we are going back to Chapter 1 OG Fortnite again, and we're going back next month. I know what you're thinking. If you're not the biggest fan of going back to OG, you really want to jump into Chapter 6, don't panic. It's a separate game mode. We have really reputable leakers like Hypex talking about this, and apparently it is going to be a new game mode that is launching next month. We're going to be playing every single Chapter 1 season, and they're going to rotate each month, so it's going to be roughly 10 months long. Now, I have no clue what is going on with this. It sounds too good to be true, or it just doesn't sound real, but it's coming from very reputable leakers, and we have a lot of sources talking about it. And now leakers are saying the massive event, which we're getting even more leaks for at the end of this season, is going to take us into Chapter 6 and introduce this new game mode. So let's talk about my thoughts on it. So going back to Chapter 1, I wasn't the biggest fan of Chapter 1 OG. A lot of people hated on me for that. I just didn't really get hit with the nostalgia for it, and it just really wasn't the same for me. I'm much more enjoying Chapter 2, and I think that's because I think from Chapter 2 onwards, Fortnite was a better game. As a game, I would give anything to go back to Chapter 1 OG as it was, when everyone sucked, we were just having fun, everyone was talking about the game, all your friends played it. I really do want to go back to that moment in time. But that's just it. It's the moment in time. If we go back now with how people play the game and how Fortnite's developed, it just doesn't hit the same for me personally. So I'm not super excited to play it, but I'm really excited for people who will enjoy it and actually do want to see it come back. I can't see it really causing any harm except for two major things. Queue times, I am a little bit concerned how this would go, having a separate version of Fortnite running at all times. They've said it's going to have Battle Royale, zero builds, and builds, so it's going to have a lot of game modes. That's going to take a lot of players from regular Fortnite, and if they enjoy it more, that's awesome. But one of the easiest ways to kill a Battle Royale is queue times. It happened with other Battle Royales like PUBG, some Battle Royales like Apex Legends, that when their player count dips, you start to see this. What happens is you have to wait so long for a game because people are quitting that you end up quitting, which makes the queues even longer, so other people quit, and it just gets worse and worse. So that's my first concern, and maybe that's just me coming from OCE, the smallest region, where we already have game modes that don't work at certain times of the day because there's not enough people to play them. For the big regions, you probably don't have to worry about that. The other thing is just development time and resources. Fortnite having to keep that game mode going on top of regular Battle Royale, which, you know, has been having some bugs recently, as it currently is an OG season. There's been some weird bugs with the loot pool and tournaments not running. It does scare me a little bit, splitting up Epic's resources like that. I'm still kind of confused how this would work. It doesn't sound like something Epic would do. They've been really careful with how they do their OG seasons. It took them until Chapter 4 to do our first ever OG season, and now we've done another one which people already said was maybe a little bit too much. It feels weird to then go from these like kind of, you know, really exciting hype, just 1 month seasons, to then going back to OG for an entire year. People keep saying, you know, on social media, oh, Fortnite's falling off. They know it's their only way to get players, but Chapter 5's numbers have been extremely good. It's not like Fortnite needs to do this because the game's dying and it's their last chance to get players. Like, if this is something they were doing in like 5 years and the game was actually declining, maybe it would make sense. But right now it's a little bit confusing. And again, we do only have leakers to go off. This isn't an official announcement from Epic Games, but I still wanted to talk about it because everyone's talking about it, and the leakers that are revealing this are very, very trusted people in the community. In case you guys missed it, the leak I was talking about is this video here, which is showing what is going to be the end of season concert. Now, I wasn't super excited to hear we were going to have a concert at the end of OG to take us to Chapter 6, but it is looking insane. Not only does it look like it's going to be an awesome tribute to Juice WRLD, you're going to be able to get the Juice WRLD skin for free just by going to the event. It looks like they're actually making it on the scale of the Travis Scott event. At this point, based on the background you can see in the TV screen here, there's a gigantic Snoop Dogg over the dog pound. It looks like we are going to have Snoop Dogg, we're going to have Ice Spice, Eminem, and Juice WRLD all on the map, gigantic, like we had with Travis Scott, I guess putting on a concert. So if they do that as well as they did the Travis Scott events, it is going to be insane. And with getting a free Juice WRLD skin just by attending, the numbers are going to be out of this world. So the hype going into Chapter 6 is going to be incredible. And if they do a proper announcement and show off this new game mode that's OG to maybe get a lot of the people who are coming back just for the event to get them hooked back on Fortnite, it could be a gigantic W for the game. Now, we got our first look at the proper trios with our first trio tournament of OG, and we have some crazy team swaps. We had Muzz and Clix announcing they're dropping Rise for Rapid the day before Trio Cash Cups. A lot of people questioning this decision, and it's gone quite well for them. They came second overall on 485 points, winning 5 of their 9 matches. They played extremely well, and they still didn't win it though. They went down to the most decorated trio player of all time, Mero, back on top of the leaderboards. As soon as Trios comes back, you know Mero is going to be stepping up, and he did it alongside Acorn and Kanata. That is a team with 10 combined FNCS wins. They're looking insane. A lot of people are questioning that team though. Oh, aren't Acorn and Kanata both IGLs? What's that going to mean? Mero's also IGL'd in the past. They're all older players. They don't have those super young fraggers, and they showed up massively in opens, which is normally a W key kind of format. They ended up dropping 158 kills, the most kills of any team, even beating out Peterbot, Pollo, and Bolts, who got 144. So again, showing a lot of what I've been describing to you guys about not focusing as much on the roles of certain teams or focusing on the star power of certain players. It's more about having a good trio who communicate and work well together, and they're popping off. We also had Aviv, Cooper, and Rise in third, so don't worry, Rise did get dropped by Muzz and Clix. Unfortunately, it seems like it wasn't really a mutual decision. Rise was quite upset. It's hard to know when Rise is trolling and when he's not. He's kind of a guy who likes to joke around a lot, but it does seem like Rise was quite upset. He did say on social media he had multiple opportunities to snake Muzz and Clix and chose not to, and now he's gotten dropped. He is upset by that, but he's landed with a really, really good trio. He's playing with Aviv and Cooper, and they came third. Now, you'll probably notice Aviv wasn't Aviv supposed to be playing with Booga. He was supposed to be playing with Reet and Booga. They ended up dropping him for threats. But again, don't worry. They still also did well, coming in 20th overall. They still qualified. We had Dukes, Epic Whale, and Sphinx in 4th. And then we had Peterbot, Pollo, and Bolts in 5th. Skittles, Chubbs, and Chimp in 6th. Now, again, I have to talk about a few of these teams here. Peterbot, Pollo, and Bolts, obviously the team with the most amount of attention on them right now. It's going to be very interesting to see how they go in finals, though, because they've been locked in with a pretty heated spawn battle with Booga. If you missed all the drama originally when Peterbot tried to drop Booga to pick up Veno, Booga told him that if you drop me, man, I'm gonna contest you all year. Like, I don't care. I'm gonna make it my mission to contest you. That's what Booga's been doing, at least in scrims. And while it hasn't been going too well for Booga, we'll see whether that happens in the tournament. So we could potentially have Booga versus Peterbot at the Dog Pound. That's the POI they've decided to lock down. Now, Peterbot has mentioned, though, as soon as the Dog Pound, as soon as we have the new Shark Island coming into the game, we're gonna have Ice Spice's Island. Peterbot plans to leave the Dog Pound and go lock that down. It has 2 mythics, it has the Grappler and the AR, and I think a lot of people didn't realize in the trailer for the new season, it looks like the AR actually gives you a spicy effect, which makes sense because they've made the Grappler an Ice Grappler. Then you have a spicy AR, you have Ice Spice. It makes sense. It could be absolutely broken. So Peterbot does plan to leave that POI. Whether Booga will then follow him to keep contesting him, I don't know. We'll have to see. And I also want to mention Skittles, Chubbs, and Chimp coming in 6th place overall. This is the best placing team on NA right now. They won back-to-back Trio Cash Cups last season, and they are still absolutely dominating. Moving on over to EU, we have another new trio in 1st place, Vico, Veno, and Flixie. Now, if you're confused there, that is a brand new trio. Veno replaced Chap. I talked about this in a video already. I don't know how Veno is so good at working his way into these teams that are already doing so well and convincing him he'd be even better, but this time, unlike when he was going to replace Booga, it has stuck, and they are looking insanely good. 551 points, playing 7 matches and winning 5 of them with a 31 elim second. So they pretty much won 6 of their 7 games. They are looking disgusting, and I think they will be just as good in set lobbies. We had some other big teams at the top of the leaderboard as well. well. We had Seti and Cammy pairing up with Hari. So Seti and Cammy are still playing together. It has been years now. The Poles have so much loyalty to each other. They came in 4th place overall. And then I obviously wanted to talk about 9th place. We had Mongraal, Mr. Savage, and Twy. Now, you probably haven't heard of this player potentially. I know Twy's been having a big blow up over on TikTok. I've been gassing this kid up for years now. He is an absolute demon, and it was so cool to see him get his chance with Mongraal and Savage. I was wondering if the pressure would get to him, whether he'd be able to handle it, but they played phenomenally well. 9th place overall is amazing. They were also playing Middle East together and doing extremely well, so this wasn't just a lucky tournament. They played 8 matches. They won 3 of them with a lot of really, really good placements, and the vibes looked awesome. I'm really excited to see how this trio does moving forward. If you don't know, Twy's brother is actually Eclipse, the other pro player on EU, playing with CZB and Nathan, so we can see the brothers going at it in set lobbies again, which I always find super fun and exciting. And yeah, they're looking really good. They are locked into a bit of an awkward spawn fight. It looks like this team wants to go Retail Row, which has a few other really, really good teams at it, so I'm not exactly sure how they're going to go in finals. Unfortunately, it was a lot of the story of them last couple seasons where they've tried to lock down really, really good drop spots, got locked into these awkward spawn fights like at the Raft, doesn't really pay off, and they end up not doing too well because of it. So I'm interested to see whether that story is going to happen here again. But again, I also want to use this team as an example of not focusing too much on star power. We had Mongraal, Mr. Savage, and Marius fail to even make top 200 2 weeks in a row. Marius then played without them, won a tournament, so everyone said, oh, it's Mongraal and Savage. They must be the problem. They're washed. Then they pick up Twy, a player who, you know, by most people's standards is not a tier 1 pro. He hasn't placed top 3 in FNCS, and then they still pop off with him. It's just teams finding someone who fits their style, communicates with them well, and they do extremely well. And that's what I'm so excited to watch in trios. Yes, obviously phenomenal players who are really, really mechanical and really good are still going to be good, but it's a lot less about that and more about teamwork. And that's going to be really cool to see some of these underrated teams start to pop off. As for how tournaments are playing out in general, I was extremely scared for the Trio Cash Cup. We had 4 eval cups and 3 of them didn't even work. We had 1 functioning tournament. It was looking like a disaster. It was looking like last OG all over again, where every tournament was just going to fail. It was going to be frustrating, but the Trio Cash Cup then broke on OCE in Asia, but miraculously Epic was able to fix it, and Middle East onwards still ran as normal. So fingers crossed that continues. Tournaments still keep running well. I will say we have a bunch of weird updates that are going to make tournaments a little bit goofy. Not only is Epic like turning off vehicles midway through tournaments, adding different guns, changing the loot pool, they're also going to be adding POIs midway through. We currently have the Grotto update coming out at any time in the next 24 hours, and it's not a downloadable update. The game doesn't have to go down. They're just going to randomly turn on Eminem's Grotto, and it's just going to be a POI you can now go. This could be happening midway through the finals of a certain region's Trio Cash Cup. So that's going to be super exciting to see how that affects things. Obviously, it'll be a little bit crazy. I am really liking the meta in general right now. The grapplers make things super exciting and fun, but if you use them poorly, you just get beamed. The launch pads are nowhere near as strong as they used to be. You used to be able to just launch pad and sit in the sky and get free rotations. Players are way too good now. I don't even think it's an aim thing. I think players are just so much more aware and so much better at playing Fortnite right now that they're in a way better position or have better awareness to kind of, you know, take down people who have bad decision making. So that hasn't been the strongest, but overall it's been really, really fun to watch. And if you look at the leaderboards, the best teams are coming out on top. So it's clearly a very skillful meta as well. And as long as tournaments keep running, we have a super fun season ahead of us.